October is finally over, which means the annual art challenge Inktober is also over. Which means it's time for artists to do a recap of all the work they did over the month. If you're watching this and you don't know what Inktober is, consider yourself lucky. Inktober is a challenge where you follow a prompt list and draw every day for the month of October. And it destroyed me this year. This year for Inktober, I had the bright idea to film myself drawing every day of the month and then make a fun compilation of my journey throughout the month. But as I was getting ready to edit said video, I came to the horrifying realization that I was missing like a third of the footage I had filmed. And this isn't me being stupid and the footage is actually somewhere on my laptop and I just don't know how to get to it or I can't find it for some reason. It's actually gone. I can't find it anywhere. I've looked everywhere. It's not there. My current theories are as follows. Either the universe hates me, or somehow the files got replaced sometime throughout the month and I just didn't notice. Both are very plausible. I was contemplating just trashing everything in a fit of misplaced rage, but every story needs a conflict, and what better conflict than technical difficulties? So whether it likes it or not, the show is going on. So I'm going to talk about my favorite drawings that I have footage for, and complain. Starting off with day 5, technically day 6, but that doesn't really matter. The prompt for today was Oni. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this is the prompt list that I used throughout the month. Thank you to @PallyDraws on Instagram for making this. I also saved this one in case I got bored with the first one and wanted to spice it up. So the prompt was Oni, but I felt uninspired, so I added the prompt Hollow to make it more interesting. I actually got sick on the 5th, so I drew this on the 6th, which wouldn't be important if I didn't end up drawing this right afterwards. This is proof that a sinus infection affects drawing ability, because what even is this? It's like my hands developed short-term memory loss and forgot what they had just done 5 seconds ago, so it was a disaster, but the first one was fine. Maybe I just used up all of my artistic energy on the first one and didn't have any left over for the second one. For the 6th day, the prompt was Seer, which is just like a prophet. They just see the future, I guess. And I mixed it with the prompt Jackal because I was, again, uninspired. And I had this whole cool idea where I was going to make pretty much exactly what I just said, a jackal that can see the future, and it was going to have eyes around it and stuff. But instead what came out was just this. So, So here are the drawings for day 5 and 6. I really like the Oni. The teeth were really fun to draw, and the hole in the face looks sick. 10 out of 10. As for the other one, I don't want to talk about it, even though I just talked about it. Now we're skipping to day 8, and the prompt was Skeleton. Now I love me a good skeleton. It's super fun to doodle all the little bones. But for this day, I didn't want to just draw a skeleton and call it good. That felt like a cop-out. So I did some browsing on Pinterest and came up with an idea that was even more of a cop-out. Instead of drawing a skeleton character, I just drew some skulls in slime and pretended they're friends. All jokes aside, I really like this one. I want to make a sticker out of it or paint it on a shirt or something. I think that would look really cool. It's also just fun to draw a flowy shape, so this is in my top 3 of favorites this month, which honestly isn't a very hard decision to make. There are only 3 drawings I ended up liking out of this whole month, so the competition isn't very fierce. Moving on to day 9, 2 drawings that I like back to back, absolutely unheard of. Today's prompt was Shade, which I only know as the ghost type from Phasmophobia, so to broaden my knowledge, I did a little research. And Google told me that a shade is a monster made of shadows, So like not that different from a ghost, I guess. I could have just scribbled out a black blob and called it good, but I decided I wanted to shade the same spot for 30 minutes and started sketching out a spooky stairwell. After much more shading, I was finally happy with it. Now it can be either a ghost or a monster made of shadows. Best of both worlds. Moving on to day 15. I was really bored and didn't want to draw whatever the prompt was that day, but what I did want to draw was a snail. I got a mystery snail from my fish tank recently. His name is Ryuk, like the guy from Death Note, and he is my favorite thing right now, so I had no choice but to draw him. While I was drawing though, he wasn't out and about in the tank, so I had to find a reference on Pinterest, but we'll just pretend that it's him. I did have some trouble drawing the leaves, but they're not the focus, so it doesn't really matter. And in the end, it doesn't really look like he's in a fish tank, it kind of just looks like he's on the wall next to a potted plant. Now we're skipping all the way to day 21. For the rest of the month, I pretty much ignored the prompt list because I was so over it by this point. I just drew whatever I wanted to get it over with. Conveniently, the evening before, I watched Donnie Darko with my cousin, and it was all I could think about, so it was easy deciding what to draw. If you like time travel and being confused, then I highly recommend watching Donnie Darko. I ended up drawing Frank and his creepy bunny suit. I was going to add a quote from the movie in the back, but I have to show these to my grandma, and a bunny suit with a skull face is hard enough to explain, so I decided against it. Day 22 is another day inspired by media I enjoy, and this time it's Junji Ito's Uzumaki. Junji Ito is a Japanese horror manga artist who explores some of the craziest horror concepts. Like, he turns things that you shouldn't be scared of into stuff that you're scared of. Completely random stuff. It's crazy. And Uzumaki, which means spiral, is one of them. Without getting into too much detail and spoiling the whole story, it's about this town that is seemingly cursed by spirals, like little swirly things. You know what a spiral is. Weird things start happening, and more people get affected by this curse until the whole town is essentially taken over. It's a very good story, lots of interesting concepts. I really like how he uses the spirals in a lot of the different stories from people's perspectives. But ever since I read it, spirals have become one of my go-to doodles. I've drawn them in every sketchbook, on a ton of sticky notes, on a hoodie, so it's only fitting that I draw one in here too. It's also a very relaxing doodle. Like, you just go around and around and around and around, and you keep going until the whole page is full. It's like meditating. It's what I imagine meditating would feel like. After this day, I don't really like any of the other days, at least the ones I have footage for. So we're just going to skip forward and flip through the whole sketchbook. And I would go through and explain each and every one. Then the video would be way too long. So I'm just going to complain a bit, if you don't mind. Content warning, complaining ahead. Now, I know you read the title and you're probably wondering, why is this your last time doing Inktober? Are you really just going to quit because you lost footage due to negligence and laziness? Was it just clickbait? I'm not quitting just because I lost the footage, although that was super annoying. And being completely honest, it was kind of clickbait, but it's not like I'm lying. I'm telling the truth. I will not be doing Inktober again. But let me explain. I don't plan on doing Inktober again, mainly because I'm bored of it. Not of drawing, but more of like the artificial pressure around it that I've put on myself. I don't really feel myself improving after completing the challenge like I used to, because I originally started doing monthly challenges to improve my artwork like a lot of people do. Now it's just kind of turned into like a tradition where I torture myself for a month every year for content, I guess. So if I'm not gaining anything from it other than content, then I really don't want to do it anymore. And the content aspect isn't even that great either because socials become so oversaturated during that time anyways. So it's like the content isn't even really worth it at that point. So yeah, this is going to be my last year doing Inktober. Mash cut to next year when I decide I'm doing Inktober again and this whole video is redundant. Now that I've said I'm not doing Inktober, I can share the big Inktober secret that you might not have known. Most artists you see doing Inktober on Instagram and TikToks and stuff, and they're like posting every day and they got these incredible full illustrations and they're like great, and you're wondering how they're doing those every day. They're not. Guarantee you, most of them, I don't want to call anyone out, I guarantee you most of them finish their drawings months in advance and then schedule them to post throughout the month. Especially if they're not following the official Inktober prompt list and they like have their own. I know this because last year and the year before, and I think the year before that too, this is exactly what I did. Which was stupid because I chose to use alcohol markers as my medium for like last year and the year before, and I ended up getting migraines from batch making drawings with alcohol markers and like inhaling the fumes. So it was a very stupid idea. So if you're doing a monthly challenge and feel bad because you can't keep up with drawing every day like all of those people you see on Instagram that are doing it every day, don't worry, because the people you're comparing yourself to aren't drawing every day either. Remember kids, everything online is fake and the birds are always watching you. I will always recommend drawing every day as a way to improve your drawing skills, but comparing yourself to others and putting so much pressure on yourself that you stress out over drawing, thing that you're supposed to do to relax sometimes, it's gonna have the opposite effect. You're just gonna end up hating it instead of improving, and you really only improve when you're enjoying the process. Part of learning how to draw, or really learning and improving any new skill that you have, is learning to be patient with yourself and like allowing yourself to make mistakes and not freak out about it and not being too hard on yourself. Even when you've set your mind to completing a challenge that ultimately drives you insane. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!